Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review is Black Panther 2. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment if you've seen it. Let's go. So, long anticipated Black Panther 2. The down part about this movie, the movie itself was phenomenal. But the plot of this movie was released about 6 months ago. And everything that was in that plot was in the movie. So those of us that be digging, watch a bunch of, we do live reviews. We come across those type videos. And it was already put out there on everything that this movie was about. And exactly with that. So one of the moments when I talked in the review that was told, I was hoping wasn't it, but it did. So nevertheless, let's get into it. So the movie starts off with Shuri in her lab. She's working on the cure to kill T'Challa. He's fallen ill. And she's talking to her version of Jarvis. And those who don't know what Jarvis is, Iron Man had a AI intelligence, artificial intelligence computer that he always talked to, that back and forth while he's doing his experiments and everything. So she has her own version of that, and she's trying to find a cure for T'Challa, and they're telling her, hey, your brother is ill, you need to get up there and be by his side. She studied pacing, working, and the queen came down and seen her. And when she did, her AI was already telling her that his heartbeats was lowering, and the queen just came down and pretty much told her that he passed. And what she was trying to create is a synthetic version of the vibranium, like those flowers that they had. And if you remember in part one, Killmonger, when he took over, he burned all that so they won't have a way to, he would be the last king or whatever. So he burned all that. And so she was trying to make a synthetic version of it, recreate it, and that's what she failed to do. So it showed basically the funeral for Black Panther, for T'Challa, not Black Panther, T'Challa in the movie. And it was like an emotional moment. If you watch Marvel movies, they have something happen and then they flash all the Marvel flicker and then they say Marvel Studios at the end. So what they did after the funeral, it just got quiet and they flashed all the Chadwick Boseman. So they did a good tribute. You had the all white on. They did a good tribute to Chadwick Boseman. Had a customized Black Panther casket. So, like a touching moment in the beginning, especially for those that lost somebody, you would have a moment because you would be thinking of your own loved ones. So that was good acting. But I don't even believe that was acting. That was raw emotion that you seen them actors and actresses displaying in that moment. And it was a moment where their spaceship comes and takes the casket up and then sits it upright and takes it off in a little spaceship thing. And Shuri just ran back to it and hugged it and cried on it. So I think that was a real raw emotion right there. Nevertheless, it fast forward to a year later, right? So a year later it's transpired. The queen is pretty much running things, played by Angela Bassett. And so she summons from the U.S. to come and speak to what you would call like the United Nations, where they're saying it was told that Wakanda would share the vibranium and their resources to us, and if they don't, basically it's going to be a problem. So meanwhile, they were sending military to Wakanda or to like their outhouses and thinking that pretty much we're going to infiltrate, we're going to take it from y'all pretty much. And so when they got into one of the labs, they was like, well, where's uh what's inside this room? Somebody pointed out to the scientist, he got that key. So when they opened the key, Okoye and the crew came out, and they basically um, ran through him. Now I say the Queen, played by Angela Bassett, her character name is Ramonda. So why she's basically talking to the UN group, like basically we will not stand for you guys coming, infiltrating, and so the men that they beat up, they barred them all there. They didn't kill them. They barred them all there, basically saying we showing you mercy, but don't let this happen again. So that happened. Meanwhile, another group is off in the ocean somewhere, and they down there. They found another resource of vibranium, and when they go down there, they got this ship that was created, and it was created to detect vibranium, and they found a vibranium. When they went down there, they seen something swimming, but they didn't know what it was. So they basically got killed. All of a sudden, you seen these people pop up out of the ocean humming a certain song, which was sonically making their seals on the ship of like 30 seals just walk off in the ocean, and I mean off the ship, and kill themselves. Then one of the people she tried to get leave in the air in a helicopter, and something flew up and pretty much took the helicopter and tossed it. Now those of us that know the comics, we know who the main character is. So they call him Cuckoo Cow, the Feather God, a.k.a. Namor, right? Now this is where it gets kind of like they took Namor, and those of us that follow comics, you know the storyline. Namor, pretty much, his mom was Atlantean, and the dad was he was captain of a ship, and they somehow at one point captured Namor's mom, and then the captain and Namor's mom eventually fell in love. That's where Namor came from, and then the people of Atlantis, they wanted their queen back, and when they took her back, she was pregnant. Meanwhile, what took place is when Namor was born, he noticed that he wasn't like the regular, because he has part human, so he wasn't like the regular Atlanteans where they couldn't breathe on the land, and so he could, and then he had little fins that allow him to fly and stuff like that. So that's the storyline from the comic. So they switched that up here. So nevertheless, that took place. So a year has gone by, and the queen pretty much is saying, Shuri, you've been just behind your work. You haven't mourned your brother or whatever. So she's like, pretty much, you need to come out here and do something. So she told Shuri where she came and do this ancestry where you pick the bonfire and you burn the clothing that you went into the funeral with, and she seen spiritual healing of T'Challa. Pretty much it felt like he touched her shoulder, and when Shuri heard that, she pretty much said that's a figment of your imagination. Basically, the ancestry she don't believe in that stuff. So she lost faith. At that moment, they heard something or whatever, and when they heard something, Namor came out of the water, and they basically like, how did you get in Wakanda? Like, how did you get past our defenses? And he pretty much told them, listen, first off, they didn't believe. They thought they were the only ones that had vibranium, and Shuri could see that. Nah, he had vibranium too, and so he told them pretty much, what wasn't really fair to them, but he pretty much told them, his people was under attack, and they can't let people find out what's going on in the water. So he needs the Wakandans' help, and if they don't help him, then he gonna look at them as enemies. So they need to find the scientists who built the machine or whatever that could detect vibranium. Because he basically saying, if they could do this to me, they could do this to you or whatever. So he came off wrong, and so they pretty much took offense to it, but had to respect where he was coming from. So from there, he picked it. He's super strong, so he barked the machine and put it up on land. They was like, well, how did he do that? So nevertheless, they examined the machine, pretty much got some intel. They reached out to Ross, who's part of the CIA, and pretty much asked him, hey, do you know who made this machine? He do. He knows. Come to find out, it's a 19-year-old in MIT who's super smart, who pretty much created the machine in like 3 months. And her name is Reed Williams. So the mission is to go there, get her, and Namor wants to kill that scientist, not knowing it's a 19-year-old, but he just know somebody like that is a threat. So I need to get them out of here. I got my people to protect. So they go get Reed Williams, and when they go get her, they find out she's just a student, and they talk to her, and then you got some funny moments with Okoye and Shuri. Shuri didn't. The Queen Ramonda, she didn't want Shuri to go. Meanwhile, Okoye said, who's the general, pretty much said, I got her. I'll make sure that she's safe. So when they got Reed Williams said, I gotta go back to my lab and pull up some stuff. When she goes back there, the FBI and the cops pull up. So she was like, pretty much, hey, we don't got no way out here. So Shuri, she used her vibranium gadgets and put them on stuff, and it allows the vehicles to move smoother and do. If it wasn't working, it'll work. So Reed Williams also created an Iron Man suit. So in the comics, her name is Ironheart. So she recreated Tony Stark's suit. So she get a chance to test it out. So she comes out with the suit, and there's just a little scene with them, with the cops and everything. But what happens is Namor's crew came on the surface. Now they wear like how we would wear oxygen masks for the water. They wear oxygen masks on the surface because they can't breathe on the surface, like just like we can't breathe in the water. Only he can. He could do both. So they show up. Then it's a good fight scene with a Koye where she's fighting, taking them all on, but she finds out that she kills them, but they come back to life. So how do you kill something like that? So basically their army is stronger than the Wakandian or whatever, because they can absorb wounds and heal. So nevertheless, she's fighting with this main warrior being, and he gets the best of her and wounds her, and she gets knocked in the ocean. Meanwhile, Shuri was like, hey, take me to your leader, take me to Namor. And so when Shuri wakes up, she's in the Namor area, and they treat her, they know she's a princess of Wakanda, so they bring her garments, so they treat her with respect, and they real hospitable. So she meets with Namor, and he's telling her he want to show her his world down there, and he puts her on a suit that she could follow and see, and it's just a cool moment of her going through underneath the sea. So it's real vibrant in the movie when you see this, and he shows her a world. He pretty much said, this is the world I built for my people. This is why I can't let the Riri Williams live, because I can't have somebody like that for people to find out what we got going on and my people is threatened. So while this is happening, the queen is upset with Okoye, pretty much saying, you failed. Um, you failed me by letting my daughter get taken, and pretty much said, I lost my husband, I lost my son to this, now my daughter. I given you everything. That's the scene you see in the trailer. And she strips Okoye of her title of general at that point. So Okoye is crying like mother. So it makes you think is, and maybe I missed something from season one. I mean, I said season one episode. I mean, Black Panther one is Okoye the mother. I mean, the daughter, also of Ramonda. I don't know. So she kept, because she did say mother or whatever. So nevertheless, she stripped her of her title and made her just basically a regular citizen. And she went out to Nakia, because Nakia, of course she always had a thing for T'Challa, but she wanted to live in a regular world or whatever. So she went out to reach her. Now this is a cool moment. I already knew what was going on in the film because I knew the plot before time. But what happens is the regular people that go see this, they're not going to notice this. They might, and then they not. They keep showing a little kid with a little box. They show him like 2 or 3 times, and I knew what that was. They make you think it's just kids in the village, but they kind of zone in on this one little kid with a box or whatever. So just hearing me say that, you know what that means. But he's not really with Nikhil, so you think people might just assume he's just another kid in the village, but he's not. You find out the post-credit scene. So there is a post-credit scene. You find out in the post-credit scene that T'Challa and Nikhil had a child, and 6 years ago. So Nikhil, she left when after like Endgame, before Endgame, she left around that time. So when that 5 year jump and all that. So this is like a year after the snap, after Tony Stark and all that. This is like a year after that. So this is like 6 years, like when Thanos did the snap. Of course, 5 years, but she disappeared and went about her business before that, and she had the kid around that time. So 6 years has transpired. She had a kid, and T'Challa did know, but he said it was best for her. That's why she stayed gone. So when she met with the queen was wondering why she didn't show up. And she's like, well, I got too much emotion and everything like that. But the queen did know her son. She did get to see her grandson. She did meet the grandson. T'Challa always knew. And T'Challa thought it was best that the son grow up away from so he won't have the pressures of being the next prince like he had to, or whatever. But it's a dope scene and a post-credit scene when Shuri meets her nephew, and the kid explained all this to her, and so I'm jumping the gun on the post-credit scene, but it's a dope scene, and he says my name is whatever, and he said dope line. He knows he's the prince of T'Challa and stuff like. So it was real. That was a dope scene at the end for the post-credit scene. Nevertheless, let's go back. So now we go back. The queen sees Nakia, pretty much tells her Shuri is missing. They took her, and she knows that Nakia can get busy, and so Nakia, played by Lupita. Man. Fellas who listen to this review. Yeah, you already know. Yeah, fellas. Yeah. She got that that wagon. Ooh. She got that wagon. And it's all in the African dress and all that. Yeah, so nevertheless, let's get back to it. She tells the queen she gonna help her find Shuri. So she's on the land. She goes to the land where people have seen Namor. He often comes back to the specific land and just sits on the beach. And you find out that when he's down there with Shuri, so these two things are happening at the same time, right? So Nakia is looking for him and she's searching. And when she starts to search or whatever, when she starts to search with her gadgets, they can either reach people by the beads or they can also reach people by Shuri got her earrings. So that's what they're finding her, sensing her from. So um, when Namor is telling his story, he tells his story of his mom. Now, their version of this Namor is basically the mom was pregnant and people found a something growing in the water. They found the vibranium in the water and the people crushed it and they took it and they all drunk it. Now the mom wouldn't drink it because she felt as though her son, she was pregnant with harm the baby, but they told her, pretty much convinced her, like, you gotta take it, the kid to be the firstborn in our new world. So what they noticed, as soon as they took the vibranium, they drank the vibranium, they all turned blue. And they could no longer get air from being on the surface. So that's what triggered them to go into the water or whatever. So um, when they went in the water, of course, she ended up giving birth to Namor. And so he's telling Shuri this story, show how he was born with the feather on his feet, and what happened from there. That the his mom just grew old, and when she grew old, uh, his what happens is with him, he doesn't age like the regular person, so he ages slow. So his mom turned old, and what she wanted is to be buried back on her land where she come from. But when he arrived there as a little kid, he seen that people were the people there was enslaved. So he pretty much had his people come in and uh, tear them people up, them slave owners up, killed them, and one of the slave masters at the time was like, he called them basically, that's where he got his name Namor from or whatever. So she telling the story, basically said, this is why I am the way I am, this is why I hate the people on the surface, and he wants to wage war with the people of the surface, and he pretty much saying us and Wakanda together, we will be allies and we can be stronger as one. So Shuri pretty much said, like, nah, I can't do that. I can't let you kill this girl. So what's happening now is two things has happened. So Nakia finds the location of Shuri. Meanwhile, the queen is telling Namor that pretty much she summons Namor on the surface, said basically I'm gonna distract him. So she distracts him to come up to the surface or whatever. So what happens is when the kid comes in, Namor is up talking to the queen. When the kid comes in, she got her zap gun, like zip, but it's lethal at the same way because the queen told her to get Shuri by any means necessary, so it could kill somebody as well. So what happens is the kid puts a knife to Shuri, and um, they was just telling her, hey, don't do nothing, put the knife down. The kid wouldn't listen, so the kid told Shuri to move her arm and zapped her. Now Shuri wanted to take the beads and put some of the vibranium on the beads so it can heal her. But Nakia was basically saying, nah, we gotta go, we don't got time for all that. But Shuri knew this is gonna raise a war right here. So Ree was there, and Ree was like, we gotta get going. I'm not trying to be staying here. So they left and made it to the surface. Meanwhile, Namor told the queen basically, I kill your daughter, and when I'm done killing her, I'm gonna come back and I'll kill you. So this is the part where when you look at the comics, it's gonna make people hate Namor when he was kind of like a Black Adam. He was like that. He's not like a outright villain. He just fight for his people like how Black Adam is. You know, I fight for my people, and that's what that's what Namor is. I fight for my people. But by them doing this part of the writing, this is the part I didn't like. What he's Gary do when I'm Gary explain what he Gary do. I didn't like this part because it's gonna make people hate him, not look at his causes protecting his people or whatever. And Shuri knew or whatever. So nevertheless, what happens is when he gets back down, he finds out Shuri and them left, and they see the child was wounded and basically was like, help me, or whatever. And the child died. So now it shows him with all his crew and what do you call them, Talikin, and basically telling them I let my guard down. Now we're gonna rage war. So Shuri and them get back up to the top, see the mom, they hug. They not up there too much longer before Namor and his crew come in to fight. And what they gonna do is, you seen the trailers, they're gonna flood Wakanda. And so what happens is people are trying to save Wakandans, people are getting drowned, and then Ree is up with Queen Ramonda, and they up in the big tower, the castle, and Namor sees them, and he goes and stabs the glass, and it didn't break. But then he dips back down into the water. Now we know the water is like, according to like Superman, goes to the sun, and that's his strength. Of course, the water is his strength as well. He could be on the surface, but it's a moment where they tell where his weakness is. So he comes back up with these like water bombs, and he throws it at the glass, and it pretty much floods the whole castle. So the queen could have saved herself, but she seen Ree down there slipping and falling. I mean, going further deep or whatever. So she could have pretty much saved herself, but she went and grabbed Ree from drowning. And by the time Okoye and all them came in there, the queen was face down. So of course, if you know how to swim and you using all parts of your body, you could drown yourself because you'd be so tired just trying to make it to the top, especially if you're too far down. So she made it to the top, and right when she made it to the top, she was submerged underneath the water too long. So they pulled her up, tried to resuscitate her, but it didn't work, and they got brought back to life. So that's the down part. So Queen Ramonda, played by Angela Bassett, great actress, played a phenomenal role. She died. So now we got T'Challa, we got the dad, T'Challa, now the mom died. It's like, I think that was too much. Like, that part was too much. But I kind of heard some rumors that I think they said Angela Bassett took it kind of hard when Chadwick Boseman passed away. So I think she just did this off the strength, but I think she was probably done with the character. So they kind of wrote her in, to sacrifice herself pretty much. But needless to say, now it's all out war now. So when Shuri was down there with talking to Namor, he gave her the bracelet from his mom. So she took that bracelet because it was made from the earth, and she put it and took her brother's DNA and put it in her machine to create the synthetic vibranium flower, and it worked. So when it worked, she was emotional because now she like, damn, if I had this before, this could have saved my brother. Now what they want her to do is she want to go into the ancestry world, and she wants to you supposed to, like T'Challa did, he went to go talk to his he went and talked to his dad in Black Panther 1. So she goes over in there and she meets Killmonger. So that was also part of the plot. And he pretty much said, you called for me. And she's like, no, I didn't. I would never call for you. So she subconsciously called for him because she wants revenge So he told her that his dad, her dad, pretty much, which was T'Challa's father as well. He was too much of he would kill his own people. He would have gave Ree up because he would sacrifice his own people to keep the peace. He said T'Challa was too noble. He said I would have did what's necessary to keep my people protected. And he pretty much said to Shuri, "What you gonna do? Are you gonna sit back and chill, or are you gonna do what's right and keep your people protected?" So she came up out of the afterlife world, and Nikhil was asking her, "Hey, who did you see?" He said it didn't work. Of course, they knew it worked or whatever because uh, Sherry got mad and punched one of the where they was building costumes, and it flew all the way across the room. So they knew she now had the power. She becomes a new Black Panther. She needed a suit. Then she go. Everybody in Wakanda moved up with the big guy that said "Coo coo cow" in the movie trailer or whatever. So on Baku. So everybody moved up in the mountains with him. So she showed up and pretty much um, he was told by T'Challa that if something was to happen with him, he would be he would need to protect his sister or whatever. So when he pit his arm wrestle up with Sherry, he knew she had the strength because ain't no way her little self was gonna be able to beat him in an arm wrestle. So nevertheless, she gearing everybody up. We're going to war. So now, but what they figured is Namor gets his strength from the water. So what we got to do is when he's dipping and every time he dips back in the water and dip back out, he's replenishing his energy and strength. But if we keep him out, he'd dry out and he would be weak. So that's what they did when the big war at the end, the big fight is they pretty much was getting Namor and dry him out. So they wounded him and then took him in this spaceship thing and put heat sensors on him to weaken him. And then, but he has a vibranium uh, spear that they pretty much said he's gonna make this ship explode. She was like, "Go get me to the desert." So right when he broke it, they landed on the desert. So him meaning Namor and Sherry fight battle, and she's battling fighting him, and he eventually he's weak too because he's drying out. He's like, "I need water," but he did a death blow to her and stabbed her. So you thinking he stabbed her kind of like on the side and stuck her to like a concrete or whatever. So he's weak, but he's trying to make it to the water. So pretty much at this point, she hears the voice of Killmonger, of course played by Michael B. Jordan, saying, "Hey, are you gonna stand there and let this just happen, or are you gonna fight for your people?" So she broke the spear, and then she pulled up out of it. And then when she pulled up out of it, you could see the vibrating start to take effect to start to make her heal. So she was able to get enough strength to make it to him before he made it to the ocean. Now, before when they was fighting, she ripped one of his feathers off, so he can't take flight like he would normally on his feet. Ripped one of the feathers off his feet, and then they battled, and then she wounded him, and pretty much said Wakanda forever, and it blew. I forgot whatever she had on the beach that blew his back up, so that really dried him out. So he was completely weak, and then she stood over top of him with the spear. Now, at this point, she heard the vision, the talk of her mom, and said, "Okay, Sherry, now show him who you are." Because she could have killed him, but she showed him mercy instead, and pretty much said, "Yield, and if you yield, my people will protect your secret, and your people will protect my secret or whatever." So he said, "I yield," and so that she let him live. She showed back up. Everybody was still battling on a big ship, and he yelled out. He, meaning Namor, told his people to stand down. Basically, it's a truce. We're going back home. And then Sherry yelled out, "Wakanda forever." So at that point, everything went back to normal in Wakanda, and Ree Williams pretty much was like, she's going back. She had a nice car. Her dad had the car. She didn't have the money to put it together. Shuri made sure she got it all fixed up in condition, and said she can't take the suit though because it's too dangerous. And she was like, okay. And so you know it's gonna be some more to it with them. Meanwhile, you had um you know how they had that big ceremony and they supposed to fight and see who's supposed to be fighting to become the next Black Panther or whatever. So Shuri was supposed to show up there, but she didn't. And M'Baku came out and basically said, "I challenge whoever to be king of whatever, king of Wakanda." And it left that scene, but it shows Shuri getting dropped off where Nakia is, and basically um, this is where she goes to the ancestries because she didn't burn her suit that she had from T'Challa's funeral. So now she burned it, and when she burned it, she goes into a deep like meditation thought, and it shows all the flashbacks of her and T'Challa. So it's another heartfelt moment at this moment with Sean Chadwick Boseman, everything he did for the Black Panther, brought that character to life, touched millions of people that never even thought of watching comics or go to a Marvel movie. Those of us that's into the superhero stuff and all that, we go just all of them. But you got people that never went to that, and now they're going because of this character. So it was just a cool thing moment at that moment. And then right after that, you see Nakia walking with a little kid. It's the little boy that was being spotted throughout the movie, a couple of scenes throughout the movie, and then she introduces the little kid saying this is your nephew or whatever. So she's like, and then everything, I already told that story. So that scene happens, like that's the post credit scene right there. So one part that I did leave out, Ross, that was their contact, that was Conda's contact within the CIA. Val. Val Fontaine is throughout this movie. We all know that she's been surfaced. She surfed in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. She surfaced in there. So she surfaced in Black Widow. So they're building her up. So she's gonna run that group with U.S. Agent and what's that guy's name? He was just in She-Hulk. Emil Blonsky, Abomination. All them they run a group that pretty much they like the Suicide Squad of Marvel, pretty much in a sense. So nevertheless, she shows up. I left that part out. So at the end, she took Ross and locked him up. But Okoye basically is called the Night Angel now with her new suit because she lost her general stripes. She like the Night Angel. She got a cool new suit and she shows up to help Ross or whatever. So that was the movie. Decent movie. That was like a thorough breakdown of everything and what I thought about it. Despite the plot already being leaked about 6 months ago, still was good to see it visual. Out of my 4-star rating system, I'm gonna give this movie a 4 out of 4. They did their thing, and rest in power, Wakanda forever, Chad Boseman. Till next time.